All right, let's do this, Dave. What's up, man? Thanks for coming back on, brother.
Oh, I'm excited. I always look forward to these conversations.
Cool, right on. I don't know if it's just me. I have an inkling of a feeling that this might become a regular thing. We'll just kind of take it as we go. But I appreciate you being so available and willing to hop on a Sunday, no less. It's been cool chatting. So let's get into it again, man. How's your week been?
It's good, man. We've picked up a substantial amount. And It's been great. It's We are currently 26 days booked out, which is the most we've ever been.
Sweet, man. That's solid, especially considering that it's late October. I don't think you usually hear that kind of report from folks. I know that's not the case with us. I mean, we're really lucky and blessed this year. I'd say my general feeling is that we're more booked out than we were anticipating for this time of year. So that's been a huge blessing. I can't say the same about being booked out almost a month. That's really killer. What do you attribute that to? Has there been anything that's taken off disproportionately compared to before, or is it just more of the same?
No, actually, it's interesting. My digital ads have slowed down, at least as far as lead flow goes. And I'll What has gone up just a hair is our organic ranking is doing a little bit better. Um, but the needle hasn't moved enough to where it would make sense on why we've gotten this big influx. So I don't know. I mean, it's tough I don't have a lot to compare it to because I'm a year and a half in, right? So,
Yeah.
last November, I was only doing this, for about 6 months, and I slowed down dramatically, like about, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. But man, we're, we're booming now. And I know some of it has to do with the fact that we have people on reoccurring window cleaning as well. So,
Hmm.
for example, the first week and a half of November was booked out by reoccurring customers.
Wow. Sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
That's solid, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think yeah, just like for a second on the ranking side of things, I think honestly, even being a guy that runs an agency that tries to help other cleaning businesses rank better, I think that I underestimate the impact that something like that actually has long term because I live in a really atomic market, like we've talked about. The town that I live in has like a population of 3,000, and we're about 15 minutes away from a town that has a population of about 20,000. And then if you
Mm.
continue down the highway, you run into more and more people. And so, like, ranking more organically has been a huge boost for us, and we get a good majority of our work from it at this point. But I still think that I underestimate the impact of ranking really well in a given market. I underestimated your market size, like in the area that you're in. I assumed it was like 40, 50,000 people, but you're creeping up on 200K. So
Yeah.
it's crazy, like going from rank like 9 to rank 3, like being in the map pack, which realistically you can do over a 12 to 18 month period. It's not the same. Like going from rank 9 to rank 7 is not the same as going from rank 4 to rank 3. So I just wanted to make that note. Like it can represent explosive growth for your business. So yeah, it'll be cool to see how that develops as time goes by. But yeah, man. I mean, one of the things I wanted to bring up is it's raining here. I looked up the weather this morning in your area. It's raining worse for you for like the next week, basically.
It is.
And so I honestly, I had some good news of like it's busier than I expected, but I also expected to hear a little bit of like, oh, yep, things are winding down, or we're rolling into alternative services like gutter cleaning and prepping for Christmas light installation, which I think a lot of businesses are doing this year. But last week when we had our talk, we kind of got into how to stay booked out during the winter after we got out of the studio. And you brought up the idea of pursuing more recurring business. So just from a high level, what's what's going on there? Like why recurring? What's the general argument? What's your thesis? Because let's just be clear, you are specifically um, targeting more recurring clients over the next, 6 to 12 months. It sounds like that's going to become, in an ideal world, a core part of your business. So, why recurring clients instead of just aiming for maybe bigger trophy houses as one-offs or every 6 or 12 months, etc.?
Yeah, a couple of reasons. The first one is my long-term goal, I think, is I want to build this out to where I can sell the business. And in order to have a business that has, in order to really have put a true evaluation on what a business is worth, um, the easiest way to do that in a service industry is to prove reoccurring businesses and having a certain dollar amount worth of contracts that are signed.
Hey, if you've got a question you want answered on the show, whether it's pricing, marketing, equipment, or anything window cleaning business related, we would love to feature it. Our goal is to build this show around what actually helps you the most. So head over to cleanforprofit.com/ask or click the link in the description to send something in.
So that's number one. One is the first one is just the business value goes up. It's guaranteed when a buyer looks into that or an investor looks at that, they're going to look at that and say that's guaranteed income. These houses are on contracts. They're not just going, flying by the seat of their pants. If Dave, the owner, stops knocking on doors, which we've talked about, like I don't do that, but you can't really put a value on that. They would still need me in the business to bring in that work all the time. So the first is just overall business value. The second is it I think as a business owner, it gives a little bit of peace of mind when you know that you have months that have days that are already booked out months in advance because you have people on a reoccurring basis. And what I'm finding so far in the very short amount of time that I've been doing quarterly plans, that has the biggest impact on future schedules.
Hmm.
It's been amazing this week getting people signed up for those. So I think the second part of that question is peace of mind. It books out your calendar, and that's why I'm booked out so far. I think right now, because like I said, the first week and a half of November was all reoccurring customers that are on plans.
Hmm. Okay, cool. Yeah, man. I think there's definitely some really solid arguments for pursuing this model. So from like a financial perspective, what does this look like in terms of how you're planning out um like who are you aiming for with these plans in terms of like your ICP, like your who you actually want as a client for this kind of plan? Because I assume you at least need to account for pricing if you're targeting bigger homes. Um, but I assume you probably have a price point in mind that you pursue people with. And assuming that that's the case, you don't want them to have, a house that's 4, 5, 6,000 square feet. You're probably aiming at a specific kind of house. What does your pricing look like and who are you looking for in terms of clients?
Yeah, so I'm still experimenting, but right now the range is your average house window cleaning job that's somewhere between the range of like $300 to $400 max. And you can afford to put them on a plan where you're charging them $99 a month and they get 4 cleanings a year, 3 exterior, 1 interior.
Okay.
That's what I'm finding is kind of the sweet spot. There is a gentleman, a customer of ours that we do windows for. He has 95 double hung windows. And obviously I can't charge that person, $1,200 a year to go to their house 4 times a year.
Right.
And so I've been like mathematically trying to figure that out. And basically that actually equaled out to almost like $190 to $200 a month. And I pitched that to him and he said yes.
Hmm.
And I'm using ChatGPT to help come out with like what are the right equations on how this could potentially just be easier to calculate with larger homes that do want this monthly plan where they're billed monthly, they get the quarterly cleans. And the biggest thing that I'm finding is you really need a CRM that has
Yeah.
customizable service plans to manage it. Otherwise it gets really messy really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's been I've I've dipped like a toenail into doing recurring work. We've had literally like 2 or 3 clients that we've like done some recurring work for, and I've just assumed, okay, this time in a couple of months we'll be there. But you have to set up each individual job as a one-off basically, which it's like when you're doing $99 window cleans, every single piece of administrative work or every time you're going out of your way to do that job, it ultimately, it's like one mistake or inefficiency makes the job a loss.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an interesting problem. But you use house call, right, as your
I
CRM?
I do, yeah. And it has a service plan function, and that's what I am using. And because this is new, like anything, when you release a new service plan of any kind, or you release something new in your business, um, once you release it is when you start to like figure out like, well, you start to find all the cracks in the ship. And that's what I'm like kind of figuring out as I go. And I'll give a quick example. There was someone that wanted to sign up and just pay for it all up front the whole year. And they didn't want to do a monthly. And in House Call Pro, it doesn't let you, the customer can accept and agree to the service plan and sign off of it because it's only built for monthly billing. They can't pay
Hmm.
it all up front. So today I'm like racking my head. I'm like, how do I do this? And then I had to go in and rebuild a custom plan for someone who wanted to pay all up front and then send them a separate invoice so they could actually pay for the plan, if you will. So,
Hmm.
even you might even have, if you're listening to this, you might have a CRM that can partially set this up, but you might have to come up with some workarounds to make it work, especially when people want to change things. There are people out there that don't want to give you their credit card. They just want to write you a
Yeah.
check for the whole year.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you mentioned, you have a half of November booked out with recurring work. Um, how many guys are in a crew doing this? Are you running two-man crews, or is this a solo guy
Two,
going out doing this?
two,
Two.
two-man crews. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many jobs are they doing a day, ideally on this plan? Maybe not how it's actually working out in the next month or so, but in a perfect world, like how many jobs per day are you trying to get with a recurring model?
Yeah, so what I only have 15, maybe 20 homes on that quarterly plan right now, so it's not a lot, but how I envision it is it'll probably turn into almost like route work where
Mm-hmm.
because I'm kind of targeting more of like the smaller home demographic for this. Um I imagine it in my head that I would hire and train one guy to go
Mm-hmm.
out, and his job would quite literally be our managing our service plan customers.
Got it.
And it's what's great about House Call Pro right now is now they have a scheduling feature that helps you map out the most efficient routes based on where the job locations are, which
Hmm.
is really helpful. So, when
Yeah.
we scale it and we eventually get, 50, 100, 200 people on this, I'd imagine I would hire one guy and maybe he could do 3, 4, 5 a day.
Hey, if you're a window cleaner or home service pro with a story worth sharing, we want to have you on the show. Clean for Profit is all about real operators building real businesses. So if you've got wins, lessons, or even failures that others can avoid, we'd love to hear from you. Head over to cleanforprofit.com/guest or click the link in the description to get started. All right, back to the episode.
Let me take a second to just
Yeah.
take advantage of this call a little bit. I want to, I'm just doing this off the cuff, but I want to just take a look at an example market, and we'll just use my market as an example. So just so you have like eyes on my market, like this is more or less our market. Like we work basically from Auburn right here. This is the area with about 20K people in it to, and then we have Sacramento right here. This is out of our market area. We usually go to Roseville, and then at times we go to Granite Bay as well. Roseville is more of a suburban area. I was looking earlier specifically with this in mind at some areas where this might work. But as you can see, there's really dense housing in this area. Um, and the main thing I was trying to figure out is how do I reconcile, I'm not necessarily doing this, but if I were in a position where this is something that I want to pursue, how do I reconcile my one-off and every 6 or 12 month cleanings with a route cleaning setup? This is the main neighborhood that I ended up kind of falling into. This area that is off of Sierra College Boulevard. Northernmost street would be like Imperial View and Longview. These are some bigger houses, but down here they get a little bit smaller, and then you get down to like East Roseville Parkway. In this area, we have, I think, about 600 to 800 houses. Um, and so I've just been trying to rack my brain on how you escape like the general SEO matrix or LSA matrix where people are calling you for one-offs. It's like, do you just start approaching them with a pitch? Do you get out here, boots on the ground, and start putting up door hangers that specifically call out like, keep your windows clean year round, $99 a month, and just like come out with the full offer. And then, when you're going down there, you're pursuing that. I don't know if you have any off the cuff thoughts on a market like this, but as you can see, like in my other markets, like there's big houses out here, but they're all over the place, bro. Like they're
Yeah.
really spread out. It would not be efficient to do a route here every single month. But or every couple of months. But if every other month or every month or every 3 months or whatever it ends up being, we have, half a dozen houses, a dozen houses in an area like this or close to it, that might be a good kind of situation where this would come in handy. Anyways, I don't have a specific question, but just off the cuff, I wonder if you have any thoughts about this market in general.
Yeah. So I think that cluster of homes would be ideal for service plans. One, I always want to start people off with a regular initial clean for two reasons. One, if I just go, let's say I came to you, Colby, and I wanted to sell you on a service plan, and let's say you say yes to the $99 a month, and then we come clean your house. Well, now I'm sending my guys to a house that you may have never had your windows cleaned before, and you're essentially getting your first window cleaning for $99. Now, unless the business has the capital to sustain those low income or low price jobs right off the bat, that might be really hard for a lot of people. So what I do is I always book someone who's a new customer for just a regular initial clean. So it might be a $400 job. It might be a $500 job. And then afterwards, when they see that we do a good job and they liked our service, I pitch them the quarterly option. And the idea is if they say yes to that on the spot and they start paying their monthly payment right then and there, I'll book their next cleaning, 3 months out. And that way I've collected 3 more months of payment from them before we even go to their house again. Does that make sense?
So on the first, I'll rearticulate it to make sure it makes sense. So on the first visit, you're charging as if it were an initial clean because it is, and then that takes down essentially the gateway for the opportunity for them to be a recurring client for you. At which point you also take the first initial. Well, would you skip the first initial payment? I'm trying to think. So like if it's a $400 job, are you charging them $499 to start the recurring, and then you're back in 3 months?
Yeah. So essentially, that's exactly what we would do.
Okay.
We would charge them $499. I've thought about the pitching it to where, like, let's say I come knock on your door to let you know that we're all done. We finished your initial clean. I want to take you around the house, show you the work, make sure you're happy with everything. I pitch them the quarterly option. I say, hey, listen, if this is something you wanted to sign up for, I'll actually knock $100 off your initial clean today. And that would kind of like, hopefully get them a little bit more interested. Anytime I've pitched this to somebody before we've done any work for them, their usual response is, well, let me just see what you guys can do first.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's tough because there's that initial, just that statement alone is like a sign of skepticism. So yeah, doing a good job first, knocking 100 off. I think that's a good move. Because like just thinking about doing the full chart, like a full pop, and then another 99 for the first month. And then, they will have paid for, I assume, their third month by the time you're back doing a cleaning. That's a little bit of a tougher pill to swallow than like, hey, you get $100 off on this cleaning and we'll see you again in 3 months. That feels a lot less, there's a lot less friction there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the benefits to this that I'm excited about the most is scheduling those individuals who have they get one interior clean a year, and scheduling that during our winter season
Oh,
so that
right.
hopefully down the road when we have a couple hundred people on these plans, my guys never have to worry about rain or snow or sleet or cold weather because 90% of our cleanings will end up just being inside people's homes.
Yeah, there's efficiency on both ends there, right? Because I mean, in a perfect world, you're eliminating seasonality from your business. You're eliminating the possibility or existence of seasonal layoffs. And then you're not doing those interiors during the summer when you could otherwise be doing full cleans for a bigger ticket. Yeah, I like that, man. Huh. Cool. That's not bad, man. I think that do you offer any additional services in your business? I'm trying to remember. Like gutter
Nope.
cleaning, do you do Christmas lights? Yeah. Okay.
Nope.
Cool. Yeah. I think that's going to vary by that might vary by market. I don't know. Maybe not. Certain markets, it's like if it's really small, it makes sense, I think, to offer multiple services. But in an area like yours, I mean, you're within spitting distance of like 500,000 people, essentially. I
Especially
think
with
that that
Nashville being just, 40 miles north or south of me.
Yeah, yeah, that's really accessible. Cool. Let's assume you're beginning again on day one. Like if you were starting your business over, do you think you would primarily pursue something like this? Do you see it as a bigger part of your entire business? What's the healthiest way to envision this current model? Would you build a whole business
Y-
off of it, or is it a
y-
part of a larger business?
if I was listening to this and I was starting today, or like even if I was, let's pretend glass therapy doesn't exist, and tomorrow I wanted to start a window cleaning company, if I had this idea of billing people monthly for quarterly cleans, I would have started that from the very beginning, um, and wash people's windows and then pitch that to them. And I mean, I probably washed 250 to 300 homes myself in again 8-month period, I'm guessing, by myself, and I didn't ever think about getting people to
Yeah,
on anything reoccurring, let alone just asking them if I should reschedule them. So that's a substantial amount of revenue that's lost, and those people probably don't remember me. I didn't have a CRM back then either,
right.
so I don't remember them either.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that, like we mentioned on the business side, like the execution side, it requires a ton of efficiency and finding those cracks and filling them quickly. But on the flip side, I think that I know this is the case with my business. It's like I probably have left 30% of my total revenue on the table over the last like I've been patching these holes over the last couple of years. Like I've been in this for 8 years, but probably like the 6 years prior to that, I probably left 30 to 40% of potential revenue on the table because of lack of proper follow up on clients that I could go and clean their windows 6 months, even 12 months later. Um, I like this because, if you have a $400 job and they're on a $99 a month plan, let's just forget about the initial clean. They're paying for essentially 3 full cleanings per year. You're going and cleaning clean glass every time, or, not clean glass,
Close
but
to it.
glass that's, yeah, for sure. Like you're not using abrasives on every window every single time. There might be a problem pane here and there, but you're going to see a lot less of that. Um, and then additionally, for these clients, it eliminates all of the problems that I was talking about with leaving revenue on the table over the last 6 years and just puts that on autopilot. So, right off the bat, a huge part of your business, if you pursue this, all of that money that was left on the table is just taken care of and then some in terms of like the lifetime value of any given client. So,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and it's a great mindset shift too because it's almost like I'm not focused on selling 3 or 4 or $500 window cleaning jobs anymore. I'm focused on selling $1,200 window cleaning contracts.
hmm, yeah, totally. Yeah, and then again, like just to reemphasize, like if you want to ever do anything other than go out and clean the windows yourself, like if you want to be able to hire out the cleaning or get to a point where you have a really nicely packaged business that's sellable, this is a super solid use case because it's not like, okay, here's our revenue from the last 6 months, and like here's what we think is gonna here's what we think the next 6 months is going to look like as a result of the last 6 months, assuming a specific amount of repeat clients when we call them if they want to reschedule, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just like, no, they paid this month, they're going to pay next month, and then the following month we're going to go and clean their windows, and that's just going to repeat forever. Here's our churn rate. It's whatever, 3%, 5%, whatever the churn rate is. And you just have right off the bat like a snap valuation for that segment of your business. It's really, really strong.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. That's honestly, that's the goal. And I'm in the ABCs of it. So I'm still figuring it out myself.
Yeah, totally. So with this approach, have you considered, like I mentioned, doing something like door hangers, or postcards or something like that? I'm still having, a problem with me specific, like in my area. I don't live in an area where there's a huge abundance of suburban, like there's not a ton of suburbia around us. Like most of our calls, like we live in a small town that's 20 minutes away from a moderately sized town that's another 15 minutes away from a relatively large town, and then you get to Sacramento. A lot of my calls are just very atomic. We have like an $860 job that's, oops, I messed my camera up. We have an $860 job that's 25 minutes from the house, and then we have a $460 job that's 10 minutes from the house, and then we have a $1,800 job that's another 35 minutes away, etc. We don't get calls back to back from suburban homes in our business. I wonder if you would suggest me, assuming I was going to pursue something like this, something that's a little bit more systematized to specifically target suburban areas where if I had a route, it's worth the drive, but I'm not otherwise getting a ton of call volume from those suburban neighborhoods.
I, I think so. Yeah. Because it will position you where when you sell enough of those, you won't have to have these massive gaps of driving time between all of these different jobs. And to be clear, like I said, I'm in the early stages of this. So I still have days where sometimes, and it's at random, sometimes my guys are driving 25, 30 minutes in between jobs. Sometimes they just they happen to line up and they're all 5 to 10 minutes apart. But the overall goal with this is to have these tighter routes, where, it's no more than 10 minutes
Mm-hmm.
in between each job.
Cool. Okay, so for the new business owner or for somebody that wants to get into this, what I'm taking away is like pick a farm if it's not nearby, or wrap this into your current packaging if you do live in a more suburban area where it's just like something that you can pitch off the top of your head, knowing the size of the job is whatever, like commensurate with the value you're going to get from a repeat client. Um, and yeah, make sure that you have your systems dialed in from a CRM perspective so that routes are maintained really tightly, and so that you can get the recurring jobs set up automatically. So you're spending essentially zero time, honestly, in the long term, way less time on administrative overhead to actually schedule and execute these jobs. Yeah, I think that's pretty solid. Any other notes in terms of like how to think about or prepare for potentially pursuing something like this?
I think the systems and the processes are really, really key. I spent a couple of weeks really, um, like trying to almost break my own service plan, which worked. Like I would build it out into in-house call pro as a service plan, and then I had myself as my own customer, and I would just try to do things that would make it break or not work. And because I wanted to try to cover all my bases as far as people's different situations. And the one thing I did not think of is, oh, someone might want to pay for the whole thing up front. And that came up, that curveball came up today. And I'm still not I don't even know if I'm a fan of that. A part of me almost wants to say no next time. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to spend that money. They paid for a whole year up front. I'm going to stash that away into the business savings account. And what, it's that, at least that money's just, it's sitting there. And I've when it comes time for that person's scheduled job, if I need it, I'm going to pull some revenue from that savings account into the main checking account for the business to kind of help cover payroll costs and things like that. So, you just got to be a little bit more diligent with finances when people pay up front, and not think that someone paid and you can just go spend that and use it however you want, because that is going to come around and bite you probably if, you have, let's say you have 30 or 40 homes that end up doing that, and you have 4 days of people who already paid and that money's gone, right? That's not going to be a fun couple of days.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's funny how quickly you came upon somebody who wanted to pay for everything up front. I, I'm, I can't say this with any confidence really because I don't have experience in it, but I assume that will probably be a pretty rare occurrence. But I guess time will tell, and we'll probably revisit this in 6 months and see what's actually going on under the hood a little bit more when we both have more information.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But I mean, overall, just have systems dialed in, and be ready for it. And I think it's going to come with, there will be, I think, some growing pains having this type of um service plan in place. It might not feel the best until I have at least 100 people on it. There, in the early stages of it, there are probably going to be a couple days a month in the future where it's like, ooh, this is going to feel like a really low revenue couple of days.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, man. Well, I mean, once it pans out though, I mean, there's definitely a case for this for sure. I mean, if you have a guy that's running full time on routes, and you can do three jobs a day, that would be like 90 houses a month, roughly, something like that, a little less. So, you're looking at, roughly 10K a month of recurring revenue. That's just, it's 120 grand a year. That's just kind of not on autopilot. It's not passive. The word passive is totally
For sure.
overused in a situation like this, but that's a really solid source of predictable income.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Cool.
And even if you're paying someone, $3,500 a month in payroll to run those jobs, I think the money is there to be made.
Rock and roll, man. Cool. Well, I think as a closing note, I would just encourage anybody that's listening to consider whether it's certainly a viable business model in many markets, even in a market like mine that's more atomized, like I've mentioned. It's like it's not going to be a fit for everybody, but for some people listening, it is the most obvious and immediately actionable fit. For others, living in rural Montana, it might be a total loss and then some.
Yep.
But I think for the vast majority of people, there's somewhere in their business where if they have the time to figure out these systems and actually build it out, it could be a really solid sector of their business, if not the entire business. So yeah, I appreciate you hopping on for this talk, man. And I don't know, at this rate, I anticipate we'll do this again soon.
You will, man. Always.
Cool. Right on. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, man.